Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. I'm your host, John, here tonight without my bestie, Nikki, but doing one of my favorite segments called Masters Moments, where I get a chat with fellow Masters athletes about fitness and CrossFit and everything that makes our ankles hurt. And tonight I've got a friend, one of my online friends that I ran into at the CrossFit Games, and we got a chance to work out together. Deborah Moore is with us. How are you, Deborah?
Hi, I'm doing very well, John. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good. We were
Aren't we
we were
all
chatting up.
always tired?
Yeah, we were chatting off the air a little bit. Obviously, no one else was listening, but yeah, I'm slowing down. I'm tired more recently than I feel I have been in the last couple of years, and it got me thinking more today about being a masters athlete, maybe than I have in the past. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it comes to mind more often, possibly as you get older. I honestly haven't thought about it much until, believe it or not, I don't know if maybe the brainwaves, you were sending brainwaves my way, but I started thinking about it this week myself. I started feeling that that sort of thought creeping into my head, maybe I do need to slow down at some point. Things are feeling harder for sure this week. So I don't know what it is. I don't honestly know if there is a certain age that you hit. But I mean, are we both the same age? I'm 53.
Yep. Yeah, it's an
50,
interesting phenomenon. Coach Glassman said once that you basically have 10 years within CrossFit before you are capped out. If that makes sense. That's not his quote, by the way. I'm obviously paraphrasing, but about 10 years, and then you start to level off or decline. 10 years of PRs, and I'm
right.
just past
Oh,
that. I'm like 12 or 13 years in, but I had never been in fitness before, so I've always
okay.
attributed the fact that I've gotten past that 10 years with the fact that I had basically 20 years, of kind of adulthood before that where I'd never worked out, hadn't done anything. So everything was a new experience. And now that I've gotten proficient or as proficient as I can get at CrossFit, I feel like I'm starting to crest that hill now and
Okay.
get, maybe I'm not hitting as many PRs as I was before, or I'm just simply slowing down because of age. I don't know. When did you start CrossFit? How long have you been doing it?
Well, this I'm sort of hanging on to a bit of hope there then because I only started CrossFit 4 years ago when I was about
Okay.
49, almost 50.
Okay.
I had been in fitness before. I'd been an athlete before, but not in the strength arena. I was a triathlete. So I don't know though. I think there may be a bit of a slowdown factor due to age. I'm hoping not because I think maybe I've got a good 6 more
Right.
years in me, but I think there is that learning curve where you sort of knew you suck at everything. I mean, I still suck at everything
Right.
and I think you'll suck at everything for a long time. But I think the progression and the PRs come from just learning better technique or learning how to pace yourself a bit better in a new sport or in a new strength endeavor. So I think there's still a little way to go. I don't know if 10 years is really it.
How long were you a triathlete?
Oh gosh. I started triathlon in my mid-20s. So a long
Okay.
time. It was the early years of the sport. And I started like many people do with the short distance. And then I went all the way up to Ironman triathlete. So
Are you
um
still doing that at all, or are you done with it?
no, I'm a true CrossFit. I don't run unless I have to. No, no, I I stopped the Ironman distance when I had my first daughter 17 years ago. And it's not a very time efficient sport. And the thought with CrossFit was, I can do everything in 45 minutes to an hour. So, the switch happened much later after having kids, but I think it's a much better activity for people who have more demands in their life.
How did you find it? Like, how did you stumble across CrossFit? Were you drug in like the rest of us, or did you seek it out?
I was dragged in actually. I was just plugging along, doing the swimming, biking, and running on my own, so not doing triathlon. And it was actually my husband who is a bit. He's one of those early adopter types. If when the Whoop sort of came out, he got on that. When the first iPhone was released, he got on that. So he heard about this thing called CrossFit, and he thought, well, that sounds a little bit crazy, sounds a bit fun. I'm going to give it a try. And I resisted for quite some time, actually. I was not interested in barbell heavy stuff. I saw the stuff on TV. I was thinking, there's no way. That's not for me. And then I got bored of everything else. And he was buying all the equipment, so I thought I might as well use it.
What was your hesitancy with the barbells?
I'll be honest, which this is going to sound terrible given what I put out there on Instagram, but I was a little afraid of I wasn't afraid. I was thinking this is more for men. It sounds ridiculous. It's more for men. There's a lot of grunting. There's a lot of that kind of gym bro feel to it from the videos that I had seen anyway. And I hated that stuff. It was the main reason that I avoided actually going to the gym. I'd never really lifted before. I didn't know, I just wasn't really into it. So I didn't like that culture of sweat, grime, heavy and iron and black walls and all of that sort of stuff. So I wasn't drawn to it at all.
And was your husband training at an affiliate or at home?
So I think if I remember correctly, he did go to a couple of classes here in Toronto, and we had some minimal equipment in our basement. And he got himself onto comp train. He thought, I'm just
Yep.
gonna, do the pay or whatever it was at the time, 39.99. I'm gonna have a look at the leaderboard, see where I can get on there. And he started doing some of the WODs there. And I just basically signed into his account and started trying some of the workouts too. And I started to find myself quite enjoying it. I was still very intimidated by the barbells though. I was doing a lot of the dumbbell work, but the barbell stuff, it was a little beyond me, a bit intimidating.
So what did it take to get you past that?
Watching some of the CrossFit games, watching some of the women on the CrossFit games, YouTube videos, seeing what they could actually do and realizing that, the age group watching, and by the women, I mean the age group women, the women who were in their 40s and beyond. And I thought, well, this sport hasn't been around for that long. They must have just learnt this themselves at a, reasonably advanced age. So if they can do it, maybe I should give it a try. And then I went to a class. I actually went to a class at a local affiliate, which I still go to once a week here. And I think it was the challenge of trying to beat something new, trying to tackle something new and learn it because that's what I really love. I love to try and overcome something or learn something new that I've never done before. So that's where it all started.
It's an interesting experience for me. I've said that for a while that I feel part of CrossFit's one of the biggest hurdles they have in front of them is breaking that mindset that CrossFit is dangerous, that it's for men, that the barbell's
100%.
scary, women are going to get bulky, like all that stuff. And, a lot of it's propagated by the top 1% of CrossFitters that make the games. When you see that, and, I mean this with all due respect to them because they're all just completely amazing athletes and people that, you watch it and you just think, man, either I can't do that or it's scary or man, look how bulky the women are, which they're not, by the way, but it's an initial thought for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And then you go to an affiliate and you get a much different experience. And it
for
ends up being
sure.
a lot of yeah, it's a lot of people our age, a lot
Right.
of I'm very average. There's a lot of very average people running around the affiliate, and all of a sudden you're like, "Okay, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
Maybe this is about health, not about, how much weight you can put on the barbell." And it's a much different thing, and I think if they could push that out more so more people could see it, I think they could attract. and help, grow our master segment a little faster, personally.
Absolutely. But by the way, now when I look at the top women at the games, whether it's the elites or the age groupers, that's actually very motivating to me. I've
Yeah.
changed the way that I see what I want my body, or if that I think women should see their bodies as. When you look at people like Laura Horvath and Daniel Spiegel or whoever it is, they're all different shapes. They're all
Yep.
obviously very strong, but I actually aspire to that. But to your point of making it more accessible to the average person, I think that that is coming. I think it is getting there. Obviously, they could do a better job of pushing more imagery of the sort of older age groups or the teens even out there to show people what there is in CrossFit. The adaptive divisions are some of the most motivating pieces of footage you'll ever see. People in wheelchairs doing legless rope climbs. It's incredible. And it's something that I try to educate people on. I mean, I'm not a CrossFit expert, but I do it. I show up, I pick up barbells and dumbbells, and I try and tell my followers about the fact that CrossFit is not this crazy sport. It's actually what it says it is. It's functional fitness. It's picking heavy things up and moving it to the other side of the room, or it's adaptable, it's scalable. Like literally anybody can do it. And I did post videos of myself when I dislocated my shoulder doing CrossFit, with one arm in a sling and the other arm carrying the dumbbells, just to show people,
Yep.
you can actually just do this. Doesn't matter what you're
Sure.
facing, what challenge you're facing.
Well, you've been a triathlete for how many years did you say? 15, 20 years? Is that right?
Oh, it was, yeah, a good 20 years, I'd say. Yeah.
How many injuries did you sustain during that time?
The injuries in endurance sport are different. They're these sort of
Yeah.
nagging,
Right.
consistent, like every week there's
Right.
something. Well, actually sounds a lot like CrossFit. Every week there's something else, but
Mhm.
it's usually, lower compartments, so leg overuse,
Yep.
strains, multiple, tons of them. Like nothing acute, nothing really super debilitating that required a hospital stay, but I still actually have issues from my triathlon days
Mhm.
that crop up and affect the way I lift in CrossFit now. So it was endless.
Yeah, I had a couple of years running marathons. I still have some foot and knee issues and shin issues and weird things that come up from, that just repetitive use of long distance running and all the things that come with it. Now that you're doing CrossFit at this age, did that triathlete training help you better mitigate those injuries or nagging things you get training in CrossFit? Because you're going to get it in any kind of training, whether it's CrossFit or
Yeah.
triathlon. Are you able to work through it better, or are you having to adjust?
No, I think triathlon was so long ago. And back in those days, there was less knowledge about training in general, or there have been many more advances made now. For example, we never did any strength work as a triathlete. There was no strength work.
Right.
You never picked up a dumbbell. The most you did was a bit of plyometrics. And now it's become very clear all the triathletes, elite triathletes are doing it. You have to work on your core. You have to get in the gym and lift the barbells and do all the strength work. Things like nutrition as well are also much more important these days. But now I think the single biggest thing that has helped me navigate CrossFit and all the strain that comes with it is the focus on mobility. And that came because I know I'm getting older, and I know that it has to be something that I have to do daily in order to keep doing the thing that I love, which is CrossFit. There's just no getting around it, no negotiation. Mobility twice daily. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. There's no way.
Well, I can negotiate myself out of mobility pretty easily. Let's be honest. What are you doing a special program, or is this your own thing, or just something through your gym? What are you doing to focus on mobility?
Well, I have a one-to-one coach. So when I dislocated my shoulder, so a year and a half ago, I dislocated my right shoulder. And after that, I did actually hire a one-to-one coach who's a physio by training
Okay.
to get me back to shoulder stability and strength so that I could do CrossFit again because I had visions of never being able to do handstand
Right.
push-ups again or kipping work or anything like that. So he programs mobility directly into my program to make me do it. So there is no negotiation. It's on my program and if I don't do it, he asks me why I didn't do it and I'm not a very good liar. So that is a non-negotiable. And then sometimes I do it because I know that if I don't do it, I will not be able to work out tomorrow, or I won't be able to hit the lift that I want to hit the next day. And I still have a bit of ego, I think we all do.
Yeah,
If
of
you
course.
do, get yourself into something like CrossFit and
Yeah.
you want to hit some PRs, you have an ego. And so my ego dictates to me that I should do this. I need to keep the joints and muscles and everything moving so that I can do it and I can brag.
So you feel like this mobility focus is a kind of a non-negotiable as you age. I mean,
Mhm.
would you have done this in your 30s or no?
No, I never
No,
did.
never.
With triathlon, I mean, you have these visions of people who are runners and cyclists, and they're always, you think they're the ones who are going to be stretching, but they're just like us CrossFitters. They don't want to stretch. Nobody
Right.
likes stretching. It's boring. And so we never did it. We'd go for 6 hour bike rides, 112 miles, and get off and walk straight into the house and sit on the couch until the next day and wonder why, it hurt a little bit when you started running the next day.
You make that all sound unglamorous. It sounds great to me. It sounds like a great moment. Do you have to do anything different from a recovery standpoint now that you've got this mobility
Ugh.
in, or does it reduce your recovery?
Yeah, oh, no, much more recovery. There's, definitely I'm finding particularly in the last year, so, between 52 as I turned 52, that I definitely need that second day off. Before I would have 1 day off, and I sometimes even do a light spin on the bike on that day off. And then the 7th day of the week, I would do something. I would be working out 6 days a week. And now I'm like, you know what? I think I need to take that second day. So now I have 2 days off a week. One of them might be active recovery if I'm feeling pretty good, but that is something that has changed a little bit in my late 40s and 50s is having that second day off a week. Yeah.
And you're doing the mobility on those rest days though, right?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
no?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, longer session of mobility. So, on workout days, I will do mobility in my warm up for my workout, and then I'll do mobility in the evenings. And then on my days off, I'll do like a full 45 minutes of mobility. Yeah.
That's like my entire week's worth of mobility, so good for you. It's impressive. No, I love that. Have you had to change your training schedule? You doing 3 days on, 1 day off, then 2 days, or, like, how are you breaking it down?
Yeah, that I think I'm probably pretty standard, much like any other CrossFitter. It's, Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday is a day off for active recovery, and then Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is a day off as well. That was, when I was in my 20s and 30s, triathlon, we had 1 day a week off and we did doubles. So, we trained twice a week, twice a day. And there's no twice a day here. Leading up to the Open this year, my coach suggested that I try and split my workout into twice a day, and I had to back it off a little bit. It was a little too
Yeah.
much, I have to say.
It's interesting. You're one of the first people I've had that have ever told me they have a specific coach for mobility. Like I've had people like raise an eyebrow at me when I tell them I have a nutrition coach and that I've had a specific run coach before, and like I've hired people for very specific things, but I've never had a mobility coach. Now I've gone to physios, clearly. Like, if you hurt a shoulder or whatever, you go see them for a few weeks and move on, but no one that I'm, like, seeing on a regular basis, you know?
Right. Right.
So I find that a really interesting concept. Is this something you would suggest for most masters athletes, like, as an in vital tool for training, or is this just something you think works for you?
Well, I think so. First of all, he's actually my CrossFit coach, but the focus right now is heavily, heavily on mobility and shoulder
Okay.
stabilization. So a big chunk of my training is mobility and stabilization. But everything he does, he programs my other stuff too. He just happens to be a physio. But I do think, and I recommend this to any follower who contacts me about their aches and their pains and, how do I get started on this? I seem to be sore all the time. I do say to them, I would invest in or go seek out some sort of dedicated mobility program. And I do point them towards some of the usual suspects like pliability and all those guys, because a lot of these people do need guidance. They know yoga, which is a great start, but
Right.
yoga is not the same as mobility. It's not the same as addressing specific range of motion through a certain joint or a certain group of muscles. So I think a lot of people do need help on that. They're not necessarily getting what they need from just doing a yoga class.
Yeah, and I've found I mean, maybe give me your experience on this, but I found as I've aged, there there's no rhyme or reason as to what hurts, right? Like, you just wake up one morning, you're like, "Why do my ankles hurt? Like, I didn't do anything yesterday," or why does you'll go to the gym and you'll feel perfectly fine, and you'll go to lift something overhead, and all of a sudden you've got a shoulder pain, and it's like no idea where it came from, you know? S
Right. Yeah, it is a bit like that. It's sort of the like, when you're at college, the unidentified party injuries, you wake up the next morning and there's
Yeah.
this random bruise on an area of your body that wouldn't imagine got involved in any sort of party activities. But it is a bit like that. But I think that is the mystery of the human body, right? It's everything is very strongly connected. And I think because we're older, we feel it more because it is more intense because everything is starting to get a little less pliable, a little less stretchable. It inflames a bit more easily. We don't recover as fast as we were when we were younger. So I think everything just refers. And also at this stage of our lives, we are spending a lot more time sitting down for whatever reason, jobs and just damn tired, You do your workout and by 3 o'clock, you're just ready to go to bed. So you're sitting down and that just everything just stiffens up. And I think it's just refers itself to every part of your body. I mean, my toes sometimes hurt. And I don't understand why, but they do.
Well, it's the crappy CrossFit shoes, let's be honest, like,
Yes. Yes. Yes, you're
they're
right.
they need to make some sort of CrossFit orthopedic shoe for old people, I guess. No one's quite figured that out yet.
With a inbuilt heel lift into everything.
I know, hopefully it's coming at some point. Any big changes you've had to make in your diet to adjust as you've aged?
Well, more protein. I do take a couple of supplements because hanging on to the muscle is difficult. And I think, a lot of women out there in my age group will identify with this, especially as women, when you hit a certain, period of your life, it gets very, very difficult to hang on to the
Right.
muscle. And I have noticed, I didn't think that it would happen to me because you never do. You
Sure.
always think that you're invincible and, I was an athlete before and I'm strong and I'll keep going forever. But it does get harder and harder and harder. So I have had to be really, really disciplined about my protein intake to the point where I feel like I'm having to force feed myself sometimes. But it works. I'm on something like 170 grams of protein and I'm not a big person. And that takes a lot of eating. So that's the major overhaul. Not as high in carbs. I'm not a low carb person at all. I don't buy into low carb or keto, but as a triathlete, I was really pounding back carbs, and now I don't I don't need as many, so that's a little different because I really love carbs. And I have to be careful about where I put all my, my eating focus, because it's the protein that's going to serve me the best. And I do get the carbs in, but just to not the same volume as I used to.
Any big protein tips you give someone? Any special tricks to get to 170? 170 is a big number. That's my
Oh,
number for
it's
the
a
record, so it's a
it's a
big
big
number.
no, it is. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's about right.
Um, yeah. Well, I was a bit skeptical about 170, but it works for me. I do a lot. I'm not a vegan vegetarian by any stretch of the imagination. Just a lot of preparation. You need to be really, really into planning in terms of just your grocery shopping and the types of lean proteins you get into the house. So I'm all about, ground turkey, chicken breast. I do eat steak, but a lot of dairy and eggs as well, egg whites, whole eggs, and a lot of Greek yogurt. A lot of Greek yogurt.
So much Greek
I
yogurt. I eat so
so,
much Greek
so
yogurt.
much. I mean, I love it, but sometimes you do get a bit sick of it. Like I'll have to go downstairs tonight and get another bowl full of Greek yogurt to hit my protein. And then I do use protein powders. I
Right.
stick it in my milk for my coffee in the morning. That gets me a little hit, and another one in a shake after my workout.
Do you ever, drink bone broth?
I do not. No, no. I
Oh,
haven't done a
I'm
lot of
gonna
reading on
change
that.
your I'm gonna change your world. I'm gonna send you a link when this is over. I should put it in the show notes because 'cause I'll get, countless DMs about this. So I started, drinking bone broth on the advice of my doctor, who is also the co-owner of my gym, and now I live by it. It's basically, 80 calories, 20 grams of protein. It's so
Huh.
good, and it tastes
And
great, and what's great about it is because it's hot, you can like, I'll drink it before bed, get another 20 grams of protein, and it's like having a hot tea before you go to sleep. It's
right,
amazing.
right. Is it primarily collagen based?
Mhm. Yep.
Or
Yeah,
okay, okay.
and it's great. I
Interesting.
mean, so I have a couple different ones that I take. I have a chicken one and a beef one that I really like. But, that's become a staple of mine just to get just to fill in some extra grams here and there. It's easy in the morning, it's easy in the evening, like, if
Yeah.
you drink coffee in the morning, it's a really easy thing to replace coffee with. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still drinking coffee, but because 'cause I'm
Oh,
not giving that
okay.
up, but I'll start my
I had a
day.
moment there.
Yeah,
I was
no.
like,
No,
"Well, what
no.
do you mean? You're not asking me to give up coffee?" Because
No,
that's
no,
a
no.
lot of people ask me about pre-workout. "Do you take pre-workout for the CrossFit?" I was like, "Well, coffee, but, that's all I need. I'm not giving that up."
Yeah, no, I'll get up in the morning, have a glass of water, and then I'll make a bone broth, and I'll drink that, and then I'll have coffee after, and sometimes add collagen to the coffee. And now
Right.
you're, 30 grams of protein into your day before you've even really started eating. It's just
Right.
it's an easy fill in. And I found even at this age, like my body composition has changed really quickly by increasing my protein and, the same as you, like I'm not giving up carbs, but I've absolutely lowered them, because I can
Yeah,
just
yeah.
I'm filling in other areas and I'm, not as concerned about, well, did I get enough carbs to go power through this workout? I mean, CrossFit workouts are
Right.
15 minutes anyway, so you don't need a bowl of pasta before a 15-minute AMRAP. You just don't, You just need enough to get through. So while I do track the carbs, I lean in on the protein, and it's
Right.
amazing even at this age how you can change your body comp. You know,
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people find that hard to believe. So, a lot of my followers are not CrossFitters, which is really interesting. They're sort of women in midlife, and a lot of them are not necessarily have been athletes or active previously. And one of the biggest questions they have, most common questions is it too late to get fit, change my body composition, live a healthier life, be stronger? And I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings about being in your 50s. It isn't too late. And that's the thing I love about CrossFit is I've seen so many people change their entire lives never mind body composition, just from things like, upping the protein or just changing their nutrition in general, going to a CrossFit class 3 times a week, moving more throughout the day, like getting up from the desk, going for a walk. It's not actually rocket science, but yet a lot of people find it hard to believe.
Yeah, well, CrossFit looks hard. I think that's part of the issue, I mean, it does, like, it looks hard.
Yeah.
Here's why it looks hard. We do Olympic lifting, and Olympic
Yes.
lifting is very complex. Like, I've said this for a while, if they would get rid of barbells completely and replace them with dumbbells, I think they could get more people to join, and I'm not advocating that we get rid of barbells because I know people love it. I just think, like, the visual of people doing snatches and clean and jerks scares people off at times, or turns
It
them
I th
off.
Yeah, I think it does, and it is hard to learn. I mean, I'm 4 years in and I still suck at snatches so badly. It's so hard, and my cleans aren't fantastic, but they're better. I think, so what a great thing for, say, people, people of my age or in their sort of mid-40s, the masters divisions, is that a lot of the places like Mayhem and whoever else, they will have masters tracks, or they have tracks that are dumbbell only, and they're functional fitness CrossFit workouts that use a dumbbell. It's a lot more accessible. I think people in their 40s and 50s who've never done anything like this before would find it a little more easy to get their head around picking up a dumbbell. And you also, you've seen some of those movements like the dumbbell snatches making their way into everyday other workouts on YouTube.
Right.
So I think the shift is happening, but I don't know that, many of these people would ever get fully into CrossFit.
Are there any movements as a masters athlete that you choose to not do because of age? I have a few,
No.
that's why I'm asking.
Oh yeah,
No?
tell me. I'm curious. I'm curious. Go on.
And this is personal preference, keep in mind, I'm not critiquing the like, I firmly believe the CrossFit method works for everyone. My dad does it, he's 77, right? Like, I think anyone can do it at any age, and you can do any of the movements at any age. But I look at things and, I try to decide what am I training for, and then what's the risk reward.
Right.
And as an example, I look at rope climbs, and the reward for being able to do efficient, quick rope climbs does not outweigh the risk of falling off a rope at 53 years of age. And
Right.
so my thing is what I could get from that, I can do in other areas. I can
Right.
focus on the grip or, whatever, the parts that you get from doing rope climbs. I can do other movements that are safer, have less opportunity for injury. And, it's not to say there's no opportunity for injury, but it's just better for me. I also don't do a lot of muscle ups. I can do them. I learned to do them. And I do think it's important that, masters athletes learn these skills and understand them, but I don't do a lot of them. They're really hard on
Right.
the shoulders, like really hard on the shoulders. And I don't have great shoulders.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so I would rather focus on, maybe, chest to bar pull-ups as an example, or strict pull-ups and ring
Right.
dips over trying to do a real overly heavily kipped ring muscle up and then find myself blowing out my shoulder, it's just so, and that's just again personal preference. I just have found those things better for my body, and so
That's
I try to
yeah.
I try to encourage masters athletes, like, if there are things that you don't like to do, like, the whole point of fitness is to enjoy it and to live a healthier life, and so don't, like, keep running into a brick wall and knocking yourself out, like, go find something you like to do. You can always scale it and sub something and still get the same stimulus.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I think for me, one of the because I've only been doing this for 4 years, and unlike you, I have not got my muscle ups. I'm still motivated to beat that thing. So I
Yeah.
want to get a muscle up. I want the satisfaction of knowing that I finally did it, not just because I'm 53, but because it's a hard skill to master. I didn't even, I wasn't even able to RX my handstand push-ups until after I dislocated my shoulder and I started working with my coach, my one-to-one coach. He had me fully to the floor at that point. So up until then I was to the ab mat and a plate. and I finally RX'd it. So I believe that I can get all these things. So I do still want to attack something like the muscle up. I can do a rope climb, but I want to get better at them. So I think that's my mentality is I don't feel that I've beaten it yet. And in my head, age doesn't come into it. I guess maybe because I've watched these masters at the
Right.
games and seen them do this stuff, and I just think, well, that's not a limitation. My limitation is my lack of skill right now.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I don't encourage people to not do things. Like I got my first muscle up, I think at 47 or 48, maybe, or first ring
It's
muscle up.
amazing.
And I didn't think I would ever get one, and then I got pretty good at
Right.
them for a while. And that was fine, like, I enjoyed doing it and learning that skill, but when I look at the things, like, I really wanna accomplish at this age, it's not top of my list of priorities, but it was for a while, so I completely understand that sentiment of, "Hey, I've never done that, I want to go
Right.
do that," and that's
Yeah.
part of the fun of CrossFit is, like, beating that challenge, you know?
Yeah. And I think maybe if I do finally get my muscle up, maybe I'll stop wanting to do them all the time or just have that thing in my mind if I've got to beat that thing. Now, the other consideration to your point about the risk versus reward is my shoulder. I dislocated it and it's a year and a half ago. And so, it's always a little questionable whether I will be able to ever do all those things to the level that I was doing them. I'm not even back to full kipping pull-ups yet because I subluxed it again back in this March, and so it was a little bit unstable. So, I just play it by take it month by month, I base my goals on where am I at, how do I feel, and do I feel like I want that badly enough? In fact, I was talking to my coach today about maybe we'll try out high rocks.
Have
I don't know how my
you haven't done one? Haven't done one
no,
yet?
we don't no, we
No?
don't have them in Canada yet. It's coming. It's coming to Canada, but they've never had a race in Canada. So I figured, if this shoulder doesn't cooperate on snatches and all the other stuff that's shoulder intensive, maybe I'll give it a bit of a break by doing high rocks for a little bit and see what happens. So
Yeah. Start running if you're gonna do high rocks again or at all.
I'm hoping the muscle memory from being an Ironman triathlete sort of comes back. Right now, it's not looking great. My run splits aren't fantastic, but I'm hoping the muscle memory from 20 years of triathlon will come back. Who knows?
Mm. They threw me into one. This is a true story. I went to Chicago. We were covering one for the podcast. Nikki and I flew up to Chicago, and not gonna lie, might have had a couple of drinks on the plane, maybe.
Oh no.
And I get there, and we're having dinner and a couple of drinks at dinner, and the founder is sitting at the table with us. He, like, shows up, and he's chatting with us. He's like, "You're doing the race tomorrow, right?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "No, you're doing the race tomorrow, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm doing the race." And
Oh
same as
my
you, I'm like,
goodness.
"Well, I'm like, I've run for years, and I've done marathons and half marathons and trail races." I'm like, "How far is it?" He's like, "It's an 8K, but it's a little farther than 8K." I'm like, "Oh, that's fine. It's only 8K." I'm like a typical CrossFitter. I'm like, "It's" and they're 1,000-meter split. So I'm like, "Okay, it's 8 rounds for time." That's what I was thinking,
Right.
right?
Right.
Did not feel
Easy.
like 8 it did not feel like 8 rounds for time. It was so bad, so
Yeah.
bad, and everything's accessible, and you'll probably blow through all the CrossFit type movements, the sled pushes, the wall balls, like, farmer's carries, burpees, all that stuff was like a no-brainer. It's just a lot of running
It
in a
is.
circle.
And it's at an intensity
Mhm.
that you can really push yourself over the edge too way too soon. First 3 rounds, you could just hit go over that red line and you're in a hole from then on.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience. My experience was that I was really hungover, and, and this is
That put
absolutely
you in a
true.
hole.
You I guarantee you've had this experience before in a race. You'll know exactly what I'm describing. I'm about 3 to 4K in, and I stopped sweating, and I got the chills.
Oh,
And I'm
yes.
like
Yep.
I'm like, Oh, I
Yeah.
am in a bad spot because I had a long way to go at that point. I'm like, "I am in a really bad spot." And so I started stopping at every water station and just slamming water and Gatorade and whatever they had, and I was fine. I got through it just fine,
Oh my gosh.
but it
That's
was
the
a rough
worst feeling in the world, though.
it was rough. It was not fun, but High Rocks is a great event. You'd probably love it. Even if you, don't figure out the shoulder thing or whatever, and you think, "Well, I'm gonna do this," as a competitive tool, I think you should do it anyway.
Yeah,
Like, don't
I think it's important to keep trying something new. I mean, that's a big thing about my whole philosophy that I put out there as well is, you might be in your 50s. A lot of people start to not give up, but settle at that point. I'm in my
right.
50s. What else is there to learn? I've done it all. I'm just going to relax now. And I think it's really important to just keep exploring because that is actually what, for me personally anyway, has kept me in good physical health. It's exploring those things of, well, okay, my joints hurt, everything hurts. What am I going to do about it? Be curious about it. Don't just accept it as your age. And I'm stuck with this now forever until I die. It's gonna get worse, probably. You're gonna get stiffer, yes, but you can at least manage it and mitigate it by being curious about what's causing it. And I apply the same thing to the sport. Like, what else can I do? Well, CrossFit was the thing I did after triathlon. Okay, now let's have a look at high rocks. It's a bit of a hybrid crossover thing. I've done some obstacle course stuff too, which was super fun and super hard. Yeah, just be curious, I think. Keeps you young up here for sure.
You know, Next time they come to Chicago, you guys should come down and we'll do a mixed doubles. You and me, it'd be
Oh
fun.
my god. Oh my
It'd be
god.
fun. Well,
Alright.
you're the
Alright.
fit one. You'll just pull me along. I promise not to drink this time, though. That'll be my
Yeah, well,
sacrifice.
that would be good. Well, you're the one who can get the muscle. I think you probably have a bit of inbuilt athletic instinct with that, and you're not admitting it. That's what I think.
I don't know if that's true. I think I'm stubborn, like you described earlier. I have this, and I think a lot of people in our age group fall into this. I mean, I make the joke often. It's like because we were raised in the 70s and 80s. Our parents would be like, we're like, "Hey, we're going outside," and your parents are like, "Okay, bye." And you don't see them again
Yeah,
until the sun goes down. They don't ask
that's
questions.
right.
There were no cell
That's
phones.
right.
Like they just looked for your bike to try to figure out where you were. And so we had a much different upbringing. Like we went to get water, we're drinking from the hose on the side of the house.
Right. Right, right,
And
yeah.
so we have all these like built-in immunities from just basically drinking lake water.
Yeah.
We just have a different experience. So I think we're yeah, I doubt anyone younger is listening to this anyway, but if they do, they're punching air right now, mad at me for making fun of them. But it's true, you know.
No, but I think also at our age, we've obviously lived a few decades. And from that comes the learning. And for many of us, not everybody, is that sort of willingness to kind of just consider things a bit more widely. When I have a 17-year-old daughter and a couple of younger ones as well. And, you see it in the way their brains are wired. It's very singularly focused. It's very single track. And this is what life is. And, and that's the track I'm going on. And when you get to our age, you go, I've been there, done that, seen that, done that. And now what else? You keep a bit more of an open mind,
Yeah.
I think. There are many people who don't fall into that category at our age too, but I think you're a bit more relaxed about some of the things that you want for yourself.
Yeah, well, I think we've had a lot more trial and error in our life. Like, we were raised with encyclopedias, not Google.
That's
And
right.
you couldn't like just, we had to figure shit out on our own. Like you just had to go do it. And I think that's part of, I don't feel like I'm a special athlete in the gym. I just feel like I'm willing to try anything. And if someone says, "Hey, try this if it works," I'm like, "Okay, what's the worst that could happen?"
Right.
And I just do a lot of repetition, but I'm also wired where I don't believe anything can beat me. You know what I mean? Like I firmly believe I can learn anything if I set my mind to it. And
Yeah.
once I've learned it,
I
I'm like, "Okay, I don't need to do that anymore."
but do you think I think that's part of who you are because I get a lot of messages on my Instagram account, and I don't think there's not that many people out there who have that same mentality, or they have to be taught that mentality in their 50s. They're starting to get to that point where but instead of becoming more curious, they're now starting to close in a little bit because they've gotten to a stage of their life where they feel they deserve to slow down a bit or to relax a bit or whatever it is. I don't know that many are like you where I that's the challenge. I'm gonna take it on, I'm gonna beat it. I don't know. What do you think? What do you see in your affiliate when people come to you?
You might be right. I mean, maybe you're right. I mean, personally, I do have like I'm always looking for my next challenge or the next thing I want to master or next hobby or whatever. And I am just wired that way. I see at my affiliate a lot of people my age and they're doing it for health reasons, but they're not doing
Mhm.
it to go compete. They're not looking to sign up for
Right.
high rocks or local comps. Like they're coming with their spouse and their kids and they're it's an hour out of their day that they're not thinking about their job or their
Right.
mortgage or whatever. It's like an escape for them. And that's one
Yeah.
thing I really love about my affiliate is like we're providing an experience for them while helping them with their health. And I think
Yeah.
people often don't look at CrossFit that way, but I think that's a really important thing. Like it is entertainment.
For
Now
sure.
it's hard entertainment. We're teaching them new skills, but it should be fun, and if it's not fun, if they're not enjoying it, they're not gonna stick around, like, they're just not, and so
Right.
we have a fun affiliate, we do a lot of fun stuff, and I think people enjoy it, and it's pretty loose and carefree, and I think the older members enjoyed that. We don't have a super competitive gym because of that, although
Right.
I will
Okay.
say there's no greater feeling on the planet as a masters athlete than beating someone in their 20s. That is like
Yes.
that's better than someone handing you cash is the greatest
Yes.
moment ever. How
Yes.
often does that happen for
Absolutely.
you?
Uh, actually, reason not a lot. Not a lot, not daily, but I think because CrossFit is so accessible, you are seeing more and more people of different levels of fitness, and including 25-year-olds who have not done any of this stuff before, walking into CrossFit affiliates and trying to get into these workouts. So I think, I think my days are numbered on that front where I'll be beating 25-year-olds because I think many more people are getting into CrossFit. They're getting better at it. As long as I stay ahead of my 17-year-old daughter, we have a deadlift kind of thing going where she's trying
Right.
to beat me and I'm desperately trying to stay ahead of her. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I think it happens. I mean, there's plenty of other women at my gym who are a little older who are beating the younger ones too. They've just been at it for longer or they're more focused at it.
Right. I had this is a true story. During the pandemic, they closed our gym here for I wanna say it was, like, maybe 3 months, right? 90
Right.
days. And I have a really awesome home gym. I mean, it's amazing. Anything you could ever have in a gym is in my basement. And so for 90 days, I killed myself down there. I did nothing but train because I was working from home. Like, so I was
Yeah.
literally doing 2-a-days for 90. I was so fit, so much fitter than I am right now. And they reopen our gym and I go back and first workout back, I might as well have written it myself. And like I'm 6 feet tall, right? So it was designed for me. It was basically wall balls and assault bike, two things I'm good at. And I'm paired up with this kid who's in his early 20s, and he wants to be a competitive CrossFitter, like, that's his life goal is
Right.
to make the games, and I beat him by, like, 2 reps,
Awesome.
and
Awesome.
I'm not kidding you, I thought he was gonna tear up. He was literally
Oh,
distraught, like, he could not wrap his brain around the fact this 50-year-old beat him, and
that's
I said to him
awesome.
but, he hadn't had anywhere to train, he's in his 20s and living in an apartment, no gym, and I felt bad for him for a minute, but then at the same point, I'm like, you know what? It's proof that at this age you can still go out and do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't do shit for the rest of the week because I was wrecked, and and he probably did like 2 more workouts that day. So that's the trade off. but you can
It
still
doesn't
go
matter.
out and perform at a high level at this age, you know,
I
if you're willing to put
agree.
in the work.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of limiting mindsets out there, and again, I talk about this a lot. All the messages I put out there is about having this arbitrary number that happens to be on your birth certificate dictate what you actually try, and it's really limiting. People, they'll look at a dumbbell and say, "Well, I should probably go for the 15 because I'm 52. I'm in my 50s." Why would you limit yourself before you even touch the thing to see what you can pick up? And I do try and encourage, especially women who have, the added barrier of I'm a woman, I'm, not really supposed to pick up heavy things. Pick it up. Trial and error, as you said before. Trial and error. Pick it up and see where you're supposed to be, not what a woman of my age is supposed to be picking up. It's just where you are supposed to be is what is important, and then you progress from there. And I think it's a really important thing to keep in mind at any age is your potential is dictated by you and your physical ability, not by a number on the page.
I love that. Absolutely love it. Well, before we wrap up, where can everyone find you? So, give
Uh,
whether it's Instagram or TikTok or whatever, wherever they wanna find you.
TikTok. I don't. Us old folk don't do
You
TikTok. Are
you don't
you
you
on
don't do
TikTok?
TikTok dances? No. Well, I say no. I have a TikTok page that I don't use. Uh,
Me too.
First of all, no CrossFitters are really on TikTok for whatever that's worth. I just figured that out this week, but
Yeah.
yeah, no.
No.
I'm not a
I,
fan.
I I think I think TikTok is just anyway not worth my time. Mostly on Instagram. It's at Stronger Movement. So that's STRONGR_movement. And I'm working on my website. So I basically I coach women for midlife women for macros, but I put a lot of content out on Instagram that is more on the motivational side, keep people of our age group getting into the gym, getting moving, eating properly, just some words of motivation really. So that's where you can find me.
All right, everybody go give her a follow. Deborah, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Been super fun chatting with you about how bad my ankles hurt. So thank you for that. It's great.
You're welcome, Joe. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. For everyone listening, appreciate you guys joining us for Masters Moments, and we'll chat with you guys soon.